Hey everybody, welcome to Average Guy Opinions. I'm your average guy, John Corelli, and I'm going to talk about the relationship. If I can't even say relationship, that's a great start, isn't it? But I want to talk about my patterns, and I don't know if there's a rhyme or reason to them, or if it's just a coincidence. But I've had to do a lot of reassessing lately, just because of the last relationship I was in, and I'm not trying to dwell on that because, like I said this past week, I'm not going to do that anymore. But I do want to do some self introspection and see if there's a pattern here and whether it's good or bad. I've noticed this. I do almost always date uh, the oldest sibling. So the significant women in my life who I've had major relationships with, they've all been the oldest kid in the family, just like I am. I think being the oldest, there are a lot of similarities. You have, there are a lot of hallmarks for being the first kid. You're generally one that may take care of the other kids. It was hardest on you a lot of times because oftentimes your parents weren't as well off or weren't as mature or weren't as good of parents or just didn't give a shit as much. I'm not saying that's always the case, but it felt like it was often the case for me with my two younger stepbrothers and my half brother. And I've noticed that was a commonality with the women I dated. Going back, I'm thinking about all these women that I've dated. Like I said, most of my major relationships ever. Last relationship I was in was only a 2 month relationship, but as you guys know, I got really into her and thought I was falling in love and still love her as a person, but that's over. She was the oldest. Hadn't been in anything major really. Well, I was in another 2 month one about a year ago. She was also the oldest. Uh, Before that, about 3 years ago, for about 3 years going into the pandemic, so a major relationship, a 3 year relationship. Once again, the oldest. Um, Before that, the woman who broke up my marriage, the oldest. The woman I was married to, the oldest. And then I think even people I dated before that. Yes, yes, yes. So, I never thought about it. It's like, wouldn't that be weird? You go on a first date, go, you the oldest? Because I find I'm very compatible with the oldest. If you're a single child or the oldest, no, it just worked out that way. And like I said, a lot of those personality traits you often have can be just that. It's just the, like I said, the parents. Some ways we're the guinea pig, the oldest kid. You know, you as a parent you make some mistakes with the first kid, and then hopefully you do better with each successive kid that you have if you decide to do that. So yeah, so I've been really thinking about that a lot lately. Also been thinking about, this is weird, and it's almost insulting, but it's not. It's just an observation. So the last several women I have been with have had some major failings with their children. The last woman I was with, she doesn't even live in the same state as her teenage boys. Their father's raising them in a different state, and I think she's a great person, but you got to question how great of a mother could she be if she's not even there. She contacts those boys every day. She texts them, and I know she visits them when she can, but she's not there. Um, Woman before that, as soon as her daughters became college age, she bailed out of that marriage, which is fine. But the daughters were pissed at her. She told me that, and she didn't seem to understand why. It sounds like you kind of looked like you were ready to get out of that. And those people aren't stupid. Educated high school girls are not stupid. They know and they observe, and they sided with dad because you apparently didn't treat that relationship very well, or whatever happened. I don't know. Did you cheat? I don't know. Um, and and the woman I was just talking about, the one I was last with, also cheated. That was one of the things where I think we kind of hit it off. We were honest with each other, and we were honest with our spouses that we cheated. And both we made a huge mistake. Really, the woman I was the last woman I was with still loves her husband. I still love my ex-wife, as you guys probably have heard and know. But yeah, just going back, even my ex-wife, you can make an argument. For the last 7 years, I've had the kids full time. Well, not Logan. I've had Logan for about the last 3 or 4 years, full time. But significant amount of high school years I've had Logan, and Dante since he was 18 or 19. And so you can make those arguments, and then you start questioning yourself. What am I bringing to this to the table? Am I drawing people with flaws? Do I have a rescuer complex? I think sometimes I do. Even though my life is far from perfect and I'm far from perfect, there's I think there is some sort of rescuer complex in me. I'm not sure why. When a woman has a problem, I go and help and try. I don't necessarily try to solve it for her, but if and unfortunately, so many women have been abused or neglected that they need a strong man. And I'm not saying need me like that, but they want a strong partner. And so I've been very confused lately as to how women say they want these things, and then when they get these things, they throw you out like the trash. And that happened to me. That's happened to me twice in the last 5 years, and it's a scar on my soul and my heart. You get past it, or at least you heal, and you try to learn from it. But it's hard to learn from something if it feels like it's happening over and over again, and you're not really getting a why and any answers to why questions like, why did you just dump me like that? And when it felt really good, and I was a good, responsive partner. I was sensitive to what you needed. I tried to give you space when you wanted it. I tried to be, I mentioned this a few videos ago when I said the test, right? The tightrope, where no matter what, you fail, If you're too strong and supportive, well, then you're overbearing. If you're not strong enough, well, then you don't give a shit. It's not easy. And so, this is good though, because this is not only a good reassessment for how you look at past relationships and will treat future relationships. It's also a good time to be alone, which is really something I'm working on. But God damn it, I love women. And not just sex. I don't love pussy. There's a big difference. Some people, oh God, I love women. Really? Yeah, I just love fucking. No, I love women. They're, yeah, and not to try to lump everyone into one gender. That's stupid. But the general things I see out of women, uh, your brains work differently than men generally, right? I mean, I'm not trying to get into a gender thing. I have a trans kid, for God's sake. I'm not going to just make blanket statements, but I do love women. I mean, I just think they're amazing creatures. Ugh, creature sounds bad. I'm in a death spiral I can't come out of now. Those statements I've made sound really terrible, but I love women. I really do. And this is not, once again, another thing where I say, oh, I'm no faggot. I ain't gay. No, it's just, I just like what women have to offer generally. And I did a joke years ago where I used to say that women, and it always felt pandering, like, oh, you're definitely the superior gender. Well, what's the evidence? The evidence is how many male prisoners we got. Millions. How many female prisoners we got? A couple dozen? It's a stupid joke, and it's not obviously an exaggeration, but women don't create horrible atrocities of violence that men have. If you look at us, throughout history, we're horrible, horrible people. We're great too. We do a lot of great things, but man, but yeah. So I'm trying to also go into maybe what I saw. This is, like I said, often this channel is therapeutic for me. It's just, this is me talking to you guys instead of talking to an actual therapist, which is something I probably should get into again. I haven't been to a therapist in about 10 years. And I just found out I have daddy issues, between both of the father figures in my life not being great at that. I'm not saying that they're both had strengths as men. Both my father and my stepfather both had some strengths, but being a dad really wasn't it. I think they tried oftentimes. I don't want to say, I'm not a complete mess. They did some things right, but it's my mom. Like I say, I've always given my mom credit for the greatness. Any greatness that lies within this mess is mostly because of her. I still got issues that I still deal with. I'm way too apologetic sometimes. And then I go the other end where I'm way too aggressive and not apologetic. And it's just a tough seesaw. Once again, another tightrope that I feel like I'm always battling. But yeah, that was something I noticed, is that the major relationships in my life I always dated the oldest person in the family. That sounds weird. I wasn't dating great grandmothers. I always dated the oldest kid, and it's always worked out that way. I've also always dated within my age range. This woman I dated, we're about 7.5 years apart. That's by far the furthest I've ever dated. It's always been within 3 or 4 years, my entire life. Anyway, so I may make this a two-parter. I don't want to get too psychological, but there is this self-assessment, and I don't know if I can be helpful to anyone, but it is good. It's sometimes good to step back after you've been through a relationship that broke your heart, and to say, are there patterns here that I can break? I don't know. But I definitely, there's obviously a pattern where I'm really into the oldest person in the family, the oldest kid. That's always been very compatible for me. So there's something I've noticed it throughout my life. I've noticed it long before this, but once again, it's slapping me in the face. I mean, I also just don't, man. I don't know. Maybe I'll talk politics. It's tough. It's tough when we got two geriatrics that we're going to have to vote for in November. It's awful. So I don't know if I want to talk about that. I probably will as November draws closer. But there you go. I'm closing in on 11 minutes. And thanks for listening, you guys. I appreciate you all. I hope you're doing well. Yeah, have a good evening, morning, partying, breaking glass, knocking out stained glass windows. I'll talk to you guys soon and have a great thing. Bye.